What's going on, family? We're talking money, sex, and power today, but specifically, we're dealing with overcoming sexual addiction. Man, I'm so glad that we have an amazing guest today. Let's go.
Get Your Shift Together Men's Podcast with your host, Dr. Myron Edmonds.
Glad to be back with you guys. I'm rolling solo today. My man, Jason DJ Walker. Y'all do me a favor and y'all call this man out the next time y'all see him. This brother is a no-show today. Now, he's going to say he had good reason not to be here. He's going to give you all kinds of excuses about how he had to travel for work and all this type of stuff. But what's more important, man? His job or this podcast? That's what I'm trying to figure out. What's more important, his job or his podcast? Man, what we doing out here, man? Are we putting work before the kingdom, before ministry? Man, my man's out there traveling, man, doing this thing, taking care of his family. We miss you, Jay. And while you're gone, I'm going to dog you every step of the way. I just want you to know that, man. Glad to be with you guys today, man. We got an exciting show and some great conversation. I'm pretty much fired up about what's about to go down today. And, man, so much to talk about, man. It's been a minute since we've talked specifically about this subject. So it's going to be pretty cool to deep dive into this today with our special guests. I got a bunch of stuff, man, I've got to remind you guys about. As you know, we are gearing up, getting fired up, and getting ready for this conference that's coming. And I'm telling y'all right now, man, it's going to be all the way live. And if you're watching this live right now, then you need to know that registration for the conference actually ends today. Now, registration ends today, but we move into late registration, which means it's going to be just a little bit more expensive. So just want to encourage you. Today is a day to register. And do me a favor. If you want a special discount because you're watching this podcast today, I'm going to go ahead and tell you what that discount is. It's WC. All right. You ready? WCCONF 25. So it's WCCONF 25. And that'll get you $100 off the conference. One more time. You got to be listening. You got to be paying attention. You better write this down. WCCONF 25, all one word, all caps. Put that in the payment coupon code section of it, and you get a little blessing for this conference that's coming up. We got to always pay these bills, man. And I want to take a moment right now to talk about this amazing product that we have. And you already know the product, man. The brothers out here are talking about the product, and I love this product because my wife loves the product. That's why, you know what I'm saying? So listen, here it goes. We got to pause the podcast real quick to talk about Natural E Man. That's right. Because we always are talking about this secret sauce, fellas. For guys who are out there trying to be adult-like superheroes. You know what I'm talking about. Maybe you need a little extra Zoom in your intimate Zoom meetings. Enter Natural E Man, your new wingman in a bottle, developed by the legendary Dr. Quentin Cancel. Yes, the guy who knows all things. This isn't just a supplement. It's like a high five for your entire life. Want to crush deadlines? Check. Want to lift weights without sounding like a creaky door? Check. Want to keep the spark alive in the bedroom? Check. Oh, man, your Netflix and chill gonna go to another level, man of God. Check. This stuff is doctor-backed. Come on now. And it's not just about swallowing some type of pixie dust. It's for men who want to kick butt in the gym, the boardroom, and the other room. So if you're ready to ditch the midday naps and start feeling like the main character again, grab Natural E-Man. Your future self will high five you. Use this coupon code, the word CIRCLE. Use the word CIRCLE for 10% off of Natural E-Man, and let's keep winning. I love this product, man. It's completely natural. It was made by one of our brothers. And, man, honestly, a lot of great feedback from guys who are taking this, using it as a supplement. to deal with them those low numbers of testosterone. Shout out to Dr. Quentin Cancel for this amazing product. And it is the sponsor for our show today. I'll make sure I put this information in the ticker so that you can have that info. Listen, DJ Walk, man, normally does our man laws today, and he's not here to share these man laws. But I got my own man law today. All right, I got my own man law. And my man law is just completely in response to DJ Walk's man law that he came with the other day. Now, this brother suggested that we should not wear our wives' lotion if we find ourselves in a bind. And I'm just telling you right now, I've done that. I've done it over and over again. He's being petty. It's his preference. It's not a law. My question for you fellas is this: what decision are you going to make? Are you going to make the decision to just be flat out ashy, or are you going to take what you can get? Look, I don't even feel right, honestly, if I don't have some type of lotion on, some type of moisturizer. Shout out to my wife. She got me on shea butter right now. I don't use nothing else but shea butter. I used to be on a certain product, but since they ain't paying me to do this show, I'm not going to mention them anymore. But shea butter is as African as you can get. Man, honestly, man, this joint just agrees with my whole constitution, bro. Like my whole architecture. It just agrees with it. And I've been on that. But if I've got to use one of them products that my wife has, it's not my preference, but I don't lose any man points if I decide that I want to use those products. Here's the man law, fellas. Whatever moisturizer you have around, use that. Don't just go out here doggone ashy out in these streets. And listen, if we're real, a lot of us brothers out here, I know I'm just gonna be honest. I'm starting to do better with self-care, right? I've been taking baths lately, just as a time to sit and relax, take care of my body, get the rest that I need, put a little Epsom salt in there for this 48-year-old body. But I'll tell you something right now. I'm trying to get better at lotioning even the parts that are not exposed. Now, let me tell you right now, most men, we only lotion when it's exposed. You know what I'm saying? I got the bald head, so the head's got to be done. The hands, the elbow, if those are not seen, they might not get lotion, but I'm doing better. My wife has encouraged me to do the feet. I've been getting, pedicures and stuff like that. I've been trying. I've been inconsistent. But I'll just say this: we got to do better at taking care of ourselves. Some of y'all out there don't cut your toenails, be cutting up your wives' legs in the bed. Now, here's a burden that I have. Now, I don't understand this, and I hope that our guest. I hope that our guest does not do this. I'll bring him on shortly. But let me say this: I've seen a thing, and I've seen it since I was a kid. And a lot of times it's hood brothers. You know what I'm saying? It's some OGs or whatever. But what is with? And we're talking all things men's hygiene right now concerning these man laws. What's with the long pinky nail? What's with that? I don't understand the long pinky nail stuff, bro. What is the purpose of that? No, seriously, why do you have that? Because for whatever you're using it for, it's got to be unsanitary. It got to be unsanitary. And there's some brothers I know, and I know you. You have, bro. You got that long pinky. And I don't understand what the long pinky nail is. They'll cut every other, nail, but they leave that joint long for some utilitarian purposes. I do not understand it, and I feel like that should be something that men should just not do. Anyway, shout out to you, DJ Walk, man. Wish you were here, but I'm going to jump into sports and culture. So I actually plan on not talking about this today, but there is something I did want to jump into as a segue, really, into our conversation today. And some of you may have seen most recently, LeBron James was interviewed. LeBron James was interviewed by a reporter, and they were asking him questions. And specifically, it had something. The context was about Anthony Edwards and him being the new face of the NBA. They're sort of passing the torch to him, passing the baton to him. And what do they feel about that? And LeBron kind of gave he's getting roasted in sports media right now by some of the big name folk, And this was LeBron's response. LeBron he said, "Why do you want to be the face of the league when all the people that cover and talk about our game on a day-to-day basis blank on everybody. So that was LeBron's response. And of course, a lot of the top media voices, you know who I'm talking about, have been going in on LeBron, saying that, hey, heavy is the head, that has to wear the crown. And, basically LeBron, needs to man up, if you please. And, a friend of mine pointed out something, which is, I think is fairly true. And I think it intersects with manhood just a little bit. I think we don't like seeing our players get emotional like that for whatever reason. And it's funny. It's amazing to me how we immediately go to this. And I'm not always the guy who uses the toxic masculinity thing. And I'm definitely for, men standing up and being leaders and being able to take criticism, not being petty, being able to take criticism, not being passive aggressive, being direct in what you say and what you think, and not making everything about yourself. But clearly, LeBron James has suffered a lot of polarizing criticism throughout his league, throughout his career in the NBA. And I would probably say more so than anybody that I know. I have not seen, and I grew up in the 90s, watching basketball, really in the 80s, honestly. But, I'd say the 90s was my era. So I watched Jordan and have a great appreciation for Jordan. I love the 2000s. I love Kobe or whatever. But with social media and the 24-hour sports media cycle, and everybody basically having an opinion now, everybody having a take, everybody having a podcast, everybody is their own media conglomerate. It can wear on you a little bit to get a lot of criticism. And of course, LeBron's going to get roasted by the mainstream media because LeBron is talking about them when he's saying that. Essentially, he's talking about the big time names, your Stephen A. Smiths and some of these other guys, and they are much more critical of the LeBron James of our day and age and the players because they have the access. Media has changed, journalism has changed. When I grew up, journalism was simply reporting on the facts of the game. Stuart Scott and those guys weren't really giving their opinions. So you have all these shows where people are giving takes, they're giving opinions. And we're starting to see a lot of responses from athletes, and athletes have their own podcasts. They have they're sharing their opinion. I don't remember Jordan really getting that opinionated. Everybody kind of gave the company line. Jordan was mostly adored and mostly praised. I don't remember any constructive criticism about Jordan. Of course, all of his fans would probably say that's because he didn't have anything. That's not true. Jordan wasn't the perfect person. He wasn't the perfect teammate. He wasn't the perfect player. He was a great player, but he was not always a perfect player. And so, no, the energy of criticism is so much more different now. We live in cancel culture. Michael Jordan never saw that, especially with Michael Jordan's gambling, Michael Jordan's womanizing. You didn't hear about any of that when I was a kid. But you hear so much about these things now because these guys do have a microscope on it. So I get what LeBron's saying, but more importantly, from a man's perspective, I think it's important to highlight that men are also human beings with feelings. And that's something that I think it should not be disparaged. It should not be belittled. And I understand the media's job and what their job is. But a lot of these alpha males out there, don't like criticism, just like anybody else wouldn't like criticism, especially when it's incessant and it's all the time. Like we see these people as superheroes, as invincible, especially for a guy like LeBron James, who for the most part has been squeaky clean. I'm sure he's not perfect, right? I'm sure he's not a perfect husband, probably not a perfect father. He is probably the Iron Man of the NBA in terms of longevity. But the man has feelings. Kevin Durant has been roasted in the NBA for taking stuff personally and responding to stuff. And I think it's okay for these athletes to be able to fight back and to respond. And I think it's okay also, in conclusion, for a man, no matter who he is, even if he's LeBron James, to say he doesn't like always being criticized. And I think that's my sports take for today. All right. I'm excited today to introduce, a very special guest who I got a chance to meet by way of a reference of a really good friend of mine. But I got a chance to, to talk to him and to, look at what he is doing, and it is so in line with what we're doing. But before we bring him on, I just want to take this moment right now to remind all of you about the Winning Circle Conference. Brothers, are you tired of being on adult autopilot? Right? That's what many of us are doing, man. Well, on March the 27th through 30th in Atlanta, Georgia, the Men's Winning Circle Conference is where you can finally unlock your A game. We're talking about health hacks. We're talking about relationship wins, career clarity, no fluff, and more importantly, we're getting to the heart of the matter. How do you win and what matters? And so I can't wait to introduce you to all the many speakers that are going to be there. I just found out that my good friend, Dr. Eric Thomas, will be there as a speaker. Katina Mobley, former NBA player, as a speaker, is going to be there. And many of these individuals have reached out to us saying that they want to contribute their voices, their experience, and their life story to our conference because of the essence of our conference. So listen, fellas, I know there's a lot of conferences out there. Some of you church brothers, you've been to a lot of church ministry, men's retreats and things of that nature. I think what makes this different is that you literally have men coming here for the express purpose of being vulnerable and of being honest, being authentic, and being genuine. And I don't know if you can get that everywhere. And so our speakers, one of the rules we have for them is they have to be transparent. They have to tell their story, and not the story of their success, but a lot of times the story of their failures. And so listen, if you just need to be in the room, in proximity, and get to a space where brothers are winning in what matters, I want to encourage you to register right now for the Men's Winning Circle Conference. Go to our website, www.winningscircleconference.com. And just because you watch this podcast today, you can use this special coupon code that will get you $100 off of registration. And that coupon code is WCCONF25. That's WC for Winning Circle, CONF, short for conference, 25, all one word. WCCONF25, get $100 off. We're going to be talking today about overcoming sexual addiction. All right, we're going to specifically be talking about overcoming sexual addiction, and there are many brothers out here who are battling this. You know, there used to be a book some years ago. The name of that book was entitled "Every Man's Battle." Right, and the book had some pros and cons to it. However, one of the things we know for sure, and we bring James back in here. How you doing, James? Can you hear us, man?
I can hear you now, man. We all good now, baby.
Yes, good stuff, man. We're just sharing with the guys just how there's so many brothers out there who have struggled with this journey. But before we get into this, brother, man, first of all, man, thank you so much, man, for gracing the stage of our podcast today, man. Man, just tell the folks a little bit about you, man, about yourself, man, where you come from, who you are, man. Look like you've been in the gym, brother. I don't know. Did you play for the Rams back in the day or something, man? Talk to me, man.
No, man, not at all. Not at all. I played a little sports. I've really been really enjoying the intro and a lot of the things that you were saying. That man law had me laughing because listen, bro, what you said about lotion, if it wasn't for my wife, like I wouldn't care at all. You know what I'm saying? Like I just don't care. You know, so she's been on me about a moisturizing program and all of it. I'm like, whatever, just put it right there next to the toothbrush. I'll get to it.
Yeah. We're good, bro. It's good melanin, man. God's giving us to moisturize itself, bro.
I'm telling you, I get outside long enough, I'll sweat. It ain't gonna matter anyway. It's okay.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, but listen, man, I am so excited. So glad to be on the show. I've been checking you out, man. I've been watching some of the things you've been doing. So inspiring. You are a gift to the body of Christ. I don't know if anybody told you that lately, but I'm gonna give you your flowers, man. You're doing some amazing things. You're talking about topics that as men we just don't talk about, and you do it in a way that's uniquely you. And it's something that is definitely needed in the body. You filling a space, brother. You filling a gap.
Man, I appreciate you, brother. Thank you, man. Thank you.
I'm telling you. And what you said is true. We boys now.
Come on, we locked in.
Yeah,
brother. That's right.
Yeah, so,
that's right.
A little bit about myself, right? So, I grew up in New Orleans, Louisiana, and so I've been, my parents were heavy in ministry coming up, and because of that, I kind of looked at church as something that took my parents away. because they were always kind of doing ministry and all that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, I had great parents, but you know, they did the best they could. But you know, I'm the oldest, so it's one of those things. If you ever run into it with your kids, especially your oldest one, they got to understand you've been a parent just as long as they've been a kid.
Yeah.
And so you're gonna make some mistakes, and it's helped me a lot parenting my own. But and so because of that, man, I ran out and got involved in a whole lot of things I really shouldn't have been involved in. And the Lord had to save my life, brother. I mean, I've gone around church my whole life and still not having a relationship with him. You know, I was, you know, a drug baby. I was drugged to church every Sunday. And so, but now, you know, when you fast forward all the way to 2005, a friend of mine, and I say friend loosely, decided that we were going to rob a store. And so, you know, we went and we kind of crouched down on the side of the store. We had everything kind of figured out. We knew when the lady was going to come out with the money bag and how she was going to make the deposit. And so we had the whole thing mapped out, man. And so I'm sitting on side the store. And this particular night, he had seen 2 or 3 different nights, but this particular night, brother, she comes out and there's another vehicle that pulls in on the other side of the parking lot. And it was super strange. Both of us were kind of looking at each other. And we looked over and it was 2 guys sitting in a box Chevy, and they wasn't talking. You know, you would think they would be in there maybe rolling a blunt or something like that, but they wasn't talking, wasn't moving, just parked there. And it was the strangest thing, man. And so because of the proximity, because of how far the car was, I'm like, there's no way we would just come back tomorrow. And that was the general consensus. That's what we both figured out at the same time. So we waited and we watched this lady get in the car, and she drove on to go do the deposit. And then a few minutes later, these 2 people just sitting in there, not saying nothing, not speaking, not moving. And then they just drove away. And it was the strangest thing, man. So we went back, got to the car, and we on our way back. He was going to drop me off where I was staying at the time. And on our way there, he's explaining to me how we need to come back. And I hear it as loud as if he said it. And the voice was, "That was the last time." And I stopped and I looked at him and I said, "What'd you say?" And he said, "We're going to come back tomorrow." I said, No. And because of how I grew up and because of the what was imparted to me as a child, I knew it instantly it was God.
Yeah.
And I was shaking in that car. I got to the house. I went in there. I had a little brother. My daughter was maybe 2 at the time, if I'm not mistaken, about to make 2. I went into her room, brother, and I dropped to my knees and I just started crying. And I said, "God, I believe you real. I believe you real."
Woo.
And brother, ever since then, I've been on this journey. There's been a lot of ups and downs.
Yeah.
But I've been on this journey, bro. I started a few years after that. I started teaching the gospel, and I've been teaching in prisons since 2010. Prisons and county jails. There's a jail I go to quite often. My mother-in-law goes with me as well in Forest County in Mississippi. And so I've been going there witnessing and ministering to those guys just in the mission field, bro.
Sure.
Wanting them to know this God who saved me.
Yeah.
And so I've been doing that. But the thing about it is, just because God reached in and told me to pick up my bed and walk, that does not mean that I had conquered the sin that was in my life. Yeah. I had conquered the thing that was that was ultimately could lead to destruction. I could meet him as my savior, but if I don't make him Lord, my life is in trouble.
Yeah, now let's talk about that because and brother, man, we need to really talk some more offline because I'm also pastor's kid, man, and so I get that journey of being drugged to church, and you know, some of the trauma I think that can come from just growing up in religious environment, being born into the church, not knowing you need to be born again, and having that own experience. But I wanted to ask you. I mean, God has blessed you, man. You've recently just been inspired to write this amazing volume for men, and the Purity Playbook. Yeah. And just can you tell me a little bit, because it sounds like you're moving there now. What inspired you to write this book? Can you tell us a little bit about your story specifically as it relates to this that has you out here specifically talking about overcoming sexual addiction and sexual sin?
Yes. Yeah. So the Purity Playbook, how to win the fight against porn and infidelity. And if I can be honest, the genesis for it, what the catalyst for the book was, I as growing up, the first time I encountered explicit content, I was about 9 years old. And that's usually about the case, right?
Yep.
And so it was, back in the day when the boxes would be scrambled, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, yeah,
And-
cable box.
Yeah, that's it, the cable box, man. And,
Yes.
and so it would be scrambled. But this particular day, right, for whatever reason, it wasn't scrambled. And I don't know what happened, but it caught my attention, and I was home. I don't know if it was a babysitter or what, but I was home, and I probably watched maybe 2 hours.
Locked in.
I was locked in, and I was hooked. I didn't realize it at the time, but there was seeds being planted into me that would take decades to uproot. From that point, I was hooked. Then I went into the magazines, and then you had the older relatives who passed that stuff to you. And also at a young age, I had an older individual who took advantage of me at a young age as well. And so when you put these things together, you get a recipe.
Yes, sir.
For a lot of sexual issues.
Yes.
Right. And so what this book is what I wished I had someone to tell me. That's what this book is. These are all the things that I wish someone would have said to me when as I got older and I got into counseling for myself, and then counseling other men throughout this process.
Sure.
There's some of their stories are in here as well. But most importantly, it's a strategic playbook. It's only about 7 chapters, right? And I call them 7 rounds. Let me tell you why. Because the area of lust is a lifetime battle, my friend.
Yes, it is. Yes,
it is a lifetime battle. And what I want you to see me as is, if you've ever watched a heavyweight fight, in between every round, they go back to the corners and they meet with the corner man. And so what this book is your corner man. It is you coming back in between rounds. And you're getting the wisdom, you're getting the information, you're getting the strategy for the next time when the bell rings, you can go back out and fight. Right. And so that's what this is. And so it is birthed out of pain. It is birthed out of mistakes. It is birthed out of hurt. I struggled because of those incidents, and you got to find a root, right? I struggled with sexual immorality, porn, and infidelity. I struggled with that for years. Years. I would know God and still could not control myself.
100%.
I knew God, and I still struggled with my ability to say no, my ability to be honorable and be faithful. And I'm gonna say this, and then we're gonna move on. But one of the biggest issues that we have as men when it comes to pornography and infidelity is we are always saying that it's the other person's issue. Right. Like, what I mean by that is we're in a relationship, and the reason why I'm okay with going to porn is because you're not doing this, or she's not doing that. And so that becomes my foundation for the reason why I'm doing what I'm doing. But in reality is there has to be a moment where you admit that you have a sickness, that there's something that you need healing from. And you can't get healed until you admit that you need to be healed. Right? And then from that point, I say, okay, now that we've made we've identified the issue, I no longer can identify the issue. I can't identify as the issue. The issue has to make the issue, not the person. And I have to also say that this individual cannot be, I can't blame you, because if I blame you, I am now empowering you to be the only way that I can change.
That's good.
And
that's good.
I got to remove that from my vocabulary. I am not the issue. The issue is the issue, and the issue is not this person. And so I got to have these mindsets, and then from
Sure,
that point I
sure.
can move forward to healing.
James, let me ask you this though. I mean, this is a question I get over and over again, and honestly, there's so many similarities with your story in terms of how the thing got started. And a lot of the brothers that are watching now, you just need to understand, man, your story, your situation is not unique. We're all in this thing together. I think the power, a lot of times, you probably would agree with this, James, especially of sexual sin, is the shame, bro. It's the shame. I heard one preacher say, "Mold only grows in darkness," and it just sexual sin thrives on the secrecy, on the shame of it all, makes you feel like you're the worst person on the planet. But so many men are battling this, and so many men have the same story, right? My story is similar, man. Same story, man. Saw porn on some old school cable, looking through the wires, and in those days they would allow you to have all the channels, and then you have to let them know what you didn't want. So I saw all the stuff first, and then of course my parents, they changed, what offerings they wanted. But by then I'm like, shoot, I can't watch the real thing, but let me just get in them squiggly lines and see if I can get something. And from then on, just it became an addiction, right? I would call it a struggle. And truthfully, man, some of the moments where I felt most vulnerable was normally after I preached, after some spiritual experience, after a high with God. There was always those moments where I felt depleted or tired or bored, and I would act out. Let me ask you this: what was, without giving away the whole book, because we want everyone to go read this book, The Purity Playbook by James Jackson. You can go get this book on Amazon.com. But James, tell us a little bit, man. Help us out. Like, how did you get free? What moved you on the road of recovery and freedom? What was the experience? What was the dark moment? The humiliating. Was there a humiliating experience? What happened that kind of catapulted you to say, okay, man, it's time to break free from this?
Yeah. So for me, I don't have the story of, and a couple of guys that I counseled, they have that story of where they were caught on the porn, right?
Yeah.
But this is what did it for me. I caught one of my children. So a couple of things happened. So one of my children got introduced to it at a very early age, and they were in the house, and I came in the room and I caught them, right? And I could not. One of the things that I've always hated was being a hypocrite. Hypocrisy was an issue for me, right? And so when I caught them, I did not have the integrity to be able to say to you to be free from something that I am struggling with.
Yeah.
Oh, and it broke me, because I'm sitting here and I'm watching my child struggle with something that I should have beat. Yeah. I should have conquered this thing so that I can give you the instruction. Yeah. But the only thing I could do was get angry and tell them that it was a bad idea and you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that. And then I walk out of the room and I feel horrible. I felt horrible. And so then that's what began my journey of being free from the porn part. The infidelity part, which a lot of people don't understand, is that it's heavily related.
Okay, say more about that, because there are people that convince themselves, man, I look at porn so that I won't cheat. This was what I was telling myself, right? Talk to me a little bit more about how you see the connection, the correlation between those two.
Yeah, absolutely. So I look at porn like any sin. Really, it's like a serpent, and what its job is to do is to convince you that there is a release and freedom on the inside of it, and the more you do it, it tightens. Yeah. Right. And so now, before you realize it, what started as something insignificant in the dark has now gotten you feeling certain feelings that you are now making the person who you love compensate for. Ooh. And when they don't meet that compensation, your mind shifts. You see people not as relationships, but as objects of release. and instead of looking at you, I see your body parts. Why? Because that is what I fed myself. I've constantly fed myself this, and there's only so long you can convince yourself that it's detached. Why? Because as a man thinketh, so is he. Right? And everything in your life is a result of what you planted. And so if you're constantly planting this, I am constantly planting, and look what porn is. It's actually taking something that is intimate and beautiful that God made, and perverting it. And so if I am constantly exposing myself to a perversion, now how can I stand 10 toes down and witness and be an example of God, all those things, if I'm battling this in my mind? How in the world can I see you as a sister when I just saw somebody with your body type, butt naked on my screen? And my first chapter that I opened the book up is it's called the Witness Protection Program. I believe the most important thing about every question is always the why, right? Every other question, the who, the what, the where, everything is built on top of the foundation of the why. And as long as I'm making even my spouse or my children the why, there will come a time where they're not around. My why has to be something that never leaves me or forsakes me.
Yes, sir.
My why has to be something that's solid. My why has to be a firm foundation.
Yes, sir.
My why has to be somebody who's forever present.
Yes, sir.
Right. So having my why being, hey, I want to make sure that I do not damage the witness that I am to the presence of God and the power of God. And so when it comes to a witness, the job of the prosecutor is to make the witness discredited. Right. If I can discredit the witness, that means everything about your story does not produce anymore. I've damaged you. So that's the first thing, because we got to remember, it's a result, and there's bad things that can come from lust, bad things that can come from lust. However, I want us to go back to the beginning. The purpose of all of us is to make disciples.
Yes.
And whether you want to or not, you are making disciples.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
You are making disciples, whether you want to admit it or not, whether you're a good disciple, a disciple of Jesus, or whether you're a disciple of something or someone else, you are making disciples. People are watching your life.
Come on.
And they are becoming what you are presenting. They don't hear what you say, they see what you do. And so all of that is bleeding out of you. It's coming out of you. It's seen in a conversation, and you having a conversation, and you can't keep your eyes off of sis because she's walking past. They see it all. And they're learning and picking up everything that you're putting off. So the Witness Protection Program is what I start with, because your why is so important. We have to start there, because look, I'm a child of the King. That's who I am through and through.
That's identity. That's our identity.
That's our identity. We have to start there. From that point on, now we can build a strategy, because if I can tell you who you should be, I don't have to worry about telling you what you should do. What I mean by that is
it just flows out of you.
It is. We got an identity problem. And so what we've been doing is, and this is the difference with this book and many other books. What we've been doing is I was just going to ask you that.
Hold on, let me just say this before you go forward. That's one of the things I want to ask you, because a lot of there's a lot of stuff out there now about how to overcome, sexual addiction, unwanted sexual behavior. Some stuff is spiritual, some stuff is not. Some people say it's scientific, it's biological, it's neuroplasticity, it's the brain, so forth and so on. Go there for us right now. And I want everybody that's listening to pay attention here. What is different, or what is the unique perspective about your experience, or at least what you put in the book, that distinguishes your book and your philosophy from others in terms of how one handles these kinds of temptations and struggles?
Oh yeah. That's a really great question, right? And so with this book, the difference is I focus a lot on identity. And the reason why I focus a lot on identity is because as men, or as people in general, right, we have a tendency to try to fix the fruit and not deal with the root.
Come on,
right?
sir.
We turn around and we see it. We go to the tree and we just say, okay, well, the issue is this. Well, everybody sees. So I'm just going to fix this. And if I fix this, then I just deal with everybody sees. But the problem is, because the root is bad, the fruit is still going to produce bad again. It's going to continue. You can conquer this thing for 6 months. You can conquer this thing for 6 years. But because you didn't deal with the root, it's going to show right back up. This is why somebody who takes a break from this, somebody who conquers it or whatever you want to call it, they fall right back in a year later, 2 years later.
Been there.
So it's always there. It's always there. So at our root, at our core, the Bible says that we are all born into sin and shaped in iniquity.
That's right.
You do not conquer lust. Like, you will never get to a point where it's over with. This is a lifelong battle. And the first thing we have to do,
fellas, listen to this. Go ahead, James. Yep.
The first thing we got to do is identify. We got to come to Christ beating our chest. I'm a sinner.
Yeah.
I'm a sinner.
Yeah.
Right? We got to come to Christ beating our chest and look, I'm a sinner and I need a savior.
Yes.
And every morning I get up, if you don't help me, I'm going to fall. Yes. If you don't help me, I'm going to fail. So I got to identify myself as a son of God, one who is in need of a savior, one who is reliant on the Father every single day. For my repentance, for my salvation. I need my heart wrung out every single day, because I'm going to mess up every day.
And we should not minimize this. You know, it's funny. One of the things that I would say is a misnomer, right? The misnomer is rooted in what you're saying, which is people believe that because they are religious, because they grew up in church, that these things, or anointed, you know what I'm saying, gifted, that these things are enough to, to counterbalance, the personal struggles that we have. And this is what you're talking about, brother. This is why I'm ready to just leap through this thing, man, and just go upside your head. Like, man, I'm just like, brother, everything is rooted in identity, man.
Yes, sir.
And the thing about porn and unwanted sexual behavior is it has a way, and that's why the Bible warns us against it. It says, flee from this stuff. It says every other sin, is outside of the body, but this is a sin against the body, meaning it's a sin against who we are, our existence, because it has a way of taking over our whole being. The Bible talks about, if the eyes are dark, if they behold dark stuff, that the whole body becomes dark. And I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. And there's a lot of brothers out here, just to let you know, bro, we in this struggle with you together. When you are under the spell of this stuff,
oh man,
all you can do is think about it all the time. All you can do is think about it all the time. So I want to ask you this: where has the church failed? Right? Because I'm just be real, in terms of teaching and educating, doctrine, even, I don't know, but for some reason or another, we have missed the mark. Now, I grew up hearing a lot of purity teaching, right? I want to know your thoughts on that, since you wrote a book on the Purity Playbook. I mean, there was a lot of conversation about remaining pure and fleeing sin, but what do you think has been missing that has, from what I understand now, 40% of pastors, 70% of men in the church struggle with this? Where do you think we've missed the boat on this, bro? I know I said a lot there, but man, I'm really curious to know your thoughts.
Yeah. Let me say it this way. So in the book, there's a chapter called "How the Mighty Have Fallen." It's a reference to David, and the biggest struggle that David had wasn't that his issue wasn't that Bathsheba trapped him, right? Bathsheba was doing what she was supposed to do. She was taking a bath. That wasn't the issue. It wasn't that he wasn't a mighty man, and it wasn't that he wasn't able to resist temptation. The thing that messed him up was he was out of position.
Come on, sir.
That's what messed him up.
Come on.
And I think that as a church, as a church body, we struggle with positioning, right? And we struggle with being, because God is going to shield you, because the scripture says that we should flee temptation, right? Yeah. But the most important thing about it is the reason why we have to do that is because there are certain temptations that you are never supposed to face. And when you will find yourself out of position, you find yourself ill-equipped to face the temptation because that wasn't your assignment. You wasn't supposed to be there, King. You were supposed to be out in the field with your soldiers. You were supposed to be at war, but instead you're on a balcony. And now you're facing a fight that you were never supposed to fight. So in the church, one of the greatest issues that I've seen is it is very difficult for me to address an issue that I struggle with. And a lot of times, unfortunately, it's twofold. So unfortunately, there's a lot of people in the pulpit who are also struggling with this.
Yeah.
That's a fact. There's a lot of people in the pulpit who are also struggling with this.
They can't address it. Yeah.
It's very difficult to address. But the other thing is, it's one of those, unfortunately, it's one of those taboo things that we just don't talk about. We would rather have this struggle in secret than expose it. And this is the thing. Exposure is what healed the world. What I mean by that is Jesus died naked on the cross.
Yes, he did.
It was exposure that healed the world. You have to be okay with showing me your scars, because otherwise, how do I know these wounds will heal? I need to see that you struggle with this. We have this misnomer where we have to present ourselves in a perfect way.
Yeah.
And it is difficult for me to understand how the imperfect always expects perfection out of people. When the perfect one doesn't expect perfection.
Well, we created a culture in church, and it's not even it's a perceived perfection, but it's of pretension. That's what it is. We trying to impress each other and trying to act like we got it together. And to me, if there's a place where people should be broken, it should be, man, where God's presence is, man, where the healing power of God is. How you gonna fix something unless you face it? You're saying some good stuff there, brother. I mean, honestly, it's that culture that is hurt, and especially the more conservative sometimes. And I'm saying conservative not from a political sense, but I'm talking about more from a theological sense. I have one mentor of mine say this to me. He says a lot of times, he says, you ought to be careful. He said people try to double up to cover up. You got to watch. Listen, one thing is true. When I would be railing against certain sins while I had certain sin in my life.
Yep.
Like when the spirit of grace and compassion and God's mercy does not flow out of the ministry, then you need to be concerned that somebody in there is doubling up to cover up. And how many times have we seen this, man? These ministers, man, preaching against sin, preaching against unrighteousness, getting caught with prostitutes, man. Like we got to humble ourselves under the mighty hand of God so that he can exalt us in due time. Talk a little bit more about that, because your ministry is one of transparency, bro, and vulnerability. Were you always there? And if you how did you get to the place where you were able to tell your story? Did you get permission from your wife? Did you get permission from your children? How did you get into this space of being so transparent?
So what launched this whole thing really was, and I mentioned this before, the book was birthed from pain, right? And so I have failed at relationship. I'm divorced. I'm a divorcee, I should say. I'm remarried, I should say, right? And I fully take the blame in those situations because of the fact that I was an unhealed version of myself.
Come on.
And so what I discovered was I could not rely on this person for healing. I could not rely on that person. And I keep going back to the reference of the man in the pool of Bethesda. Yeah. And when Jesus approached him, he asked him, do you want to be healed? And the man said, I have no one. In reference to, I need someone else to give me my healing. When Jesus clearly says, take up your bed and walk. It is simply just I had to come to the realization that it wasn't anybody else. It was going to be on me. And so before I put the book out, of course, I sat down, I talked to my wife, and one of the things that you talked about this in the sports analogy, because you said that Michael Jordan is one of the greatest basketball players, the greatest basketball. I had to fix that. The greatest basketball to ever play the game, right? And so, but the thing about it is, he's lost more than he's won.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's lost more games than he's won. He's missed
Yes.
more shots than he's made.
That's
right.
true. Yeah.
And it's the journey, man. You learn more about yourself on the fall than you will ever do on the rise, bro. You learn more about yourself.
Yeah.
I've learned more about myself in my losses than I've ever done in my wins. I've learned more about myself. And so
success has done nothing for me. It done nothing for my character. Done nothing. Nothing, bro.
Nothing at all, man. Nothing at all. And so I was being promoted to places. And so this is the issue. I was being promoted to places where my character couldn't keep me. Right. Mm-hmm. What I mean by that is I was doing well in business, doing well financially. And what happens is when you don't address unhealed situations, when you get more access, you got more access. And so all that did was magnify the issues that was on the inside of me. So the more access I got, the more issues I had, the more issues were exposed, because now I'm not just looking at people on a computer screen. I can push a button and I can have you at a hotel. I can push a button and have you fly in. I have access now. So people who I'm seeing and I'm scrolling through and I'm like, okay, I can push a button, you can show up. So when you have more access, when you don't deal with the character issues, faithfulness is a character issue.
Say that one more time.
Faithfulness is a character issue.
Yeah.
And I got to deal with the character. And the way I deal with the character is going back to identity. Everything goes back to identity, man. I've got to be like the one who my father is faithful. So that has to be a character trait of mine. So that means I had to, after sitting down with my wife and we talked about doing this book, one of the things that I did though, when we got married, is I sat down with her and I was completely transparent. Because everything.
Yeah, you said completely. You told her everything.
Everything. I told her everything, because the enemy works in the dark.
Yeah.
Right. This is where the enemy he thrives in the dark. We're supposed to be the light.
Yeah.
And so light exposes darkness. How can I be the light and still have dark spaces in my life? How can I claim to be the light and still got dark spaces? That won't work. So I sat down with her and I said, look, this is who I've been. This is who I am. And this is where I'm headed. I need you to know the whole thing.
Come on.
I need you to understand that, and also I'm going to give you access to me, because one of the ways to conquer this particular issue,
talk about it,
when it comes to lust, is exposure, right? You have to give someone access. You have to have accountability. Accountability only works with honesty. If I am not honest and if I am not transparent, you can't hold me accountable for the things you don't know. I have to tell you what I struggle with. So I had to sit down and say, look, this is where I was. I had a really serious sex addiction, and it grew from this, and it kept growing and growing and growing. And so I had to go through a process of surrounding myself with people who are doing single life well. I had to go through a process of fasting. And when I say fasting, meaning removing myself from every situation that could lead me to it. Right. So, just let me give you some practical stuff.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
Practical stuff. I had to remove myself. So anything that had a sex scene, it had to come off. Yeah. Right. And so you may say, well, that's going too far. No, it ain't. Anything that had a sex scene had to go off, because it led to something else. Any access that I had to the internet had to be restricted. Right. And I had to move my computer and all those things in a public space within the home. I couldn't, you can't trust yourself. Right. Trusting yourself is the worst thing. There's a chapter in the book called The Weakness of Strength. Yes. And it's when you think you're strong, that's where you're vulnerable. Come on. In the area you think you're strong. So I had to do that. Another thing that I had to do was I had to give my wife access to my phone. Yeah. Bro, why'd you laugh like that? Talk about it. Bro, I laugh because it is so, like, I've counseled a lot of men. Yeah. And they have this thing about, she can't have my phone, man. She can't. I'm like, why? She can't have my code. Yep. She can't have my password. She can't have my phone. I said, why can't she have your phone? What is it? What are you hiding? What are you hiding? You're creating an area where the enemy can fester. Like, this is a place. Like, there is no, in marriage. Marriage is all about intimacy.
Sure, 100%.
And porn is perverted intimacy.
It's perverted intimacy. Yeah.
So
yeah.
if I can address that, I would say I need to make sure that I'm completely intimate with my wife, which means that you see through me. Into me, you see.
You see. That's right.
Yeah. And so that means all of the spaces that were my spaces or my private areas or my this is my man.
You got to give that up.
You got access to it all.
You got to give
access
it up.
to it all.
Yeah.
So she got immediately. She got the phone number. She got the She got the She got the not the phone. The code. She got the lock code. Sure. She got the GPS location.
Yep,
she got all those things because there is nothing that I need to hide from you.
Some of these boys is quiet on here, boy. Hey, listen, I've seen some of these memes out here about the phone. Dudes be about to have a conniption, man, when they see the wife grab the phone. But look, if there's and honestly, true story. One of the areas that I began to realize through counsel, therapy, through reading, I said, oh, snap, I realized something. That one of the reasons why I pursue this brand of pornography in particular is because I have a hole in my character, in the way my makeup is emotionally, psychologically, spiritually, as it relates to intimacy. And it started becoming clear to me after a while. I was like, bro, I'm vulnerable, transparent with my boys, but not for real, to a limit. But with my wife, bro, I have created a wall. I've created I don't even really talk to her, but I want to make love to her. And this is the deception that a lot of brothers feel, that vulnerability is when they take their clothes off and they're ready to have sex, but it's really taking the clothes off your mind and your heart and your spirit. Listen, there's so much. Listen, so let me do this. I got to do this. I got these rapid fire questions for you, right? I'm just going to spit them out and you're supposed to give like one word answers or short answers to these questions. All right. So I didn't give you these ahead of time, right? But I'm going to put you on the spot right now. All right. All right. Give me one word to describe your book.
Vulnerable.
All right. What's the biggest myth about purity?
That it exists.
What's the first step to overcoming? That's good. What's the first step to overcoming temptation?
One word would be Jesus.
Oh, you might need a heat check. You might need a heat check. Bro. You get it. All right. What's your go-to Bible verse on purity?
Oh, I'm gonna have to say 1 Timothy chapter 1, verse 12. And
go ahead. Go ahead. You can go. Yeah.
And it throws most people off, but it's Paul saying that he is grateful that God still chose him for this service. With the past that he had, still chose him for this service.
I get it, bro. Okay. What's one habit every man should develop?
Communication.
What is the biggest challenge that men face today?
Bro, I need to take a second. I know it's rapid fire.
All right. Go ahead. Go. Because I want to hear this one. This is a good one.
The biggest challenge that men face is our area of vulnerability. The reason why I say that is, and I know I've said the word previously, but the reason why I say that is it has put up walls and blocked generations. And because dad wasn't vulnerable, now son isn't vulnerable. It has destroyed families because we are trained that we have to be supermen. And the idea that we have a kryptonite is some way detrimental to our manhood. We have to be able to be vulnerable because if not, we're just recycling the same problem in the next.
The brothers agree in the comments. I completely agree with that. I think it is the version of manhood that we've been given that we shouldn't show weakness. All right, let's see. What's the best book other than your book on this topic?
Well, besides the obvious answer, which is the Bible, I would say Proverbs chapter 5. Definitely.
Stay right there. He said Proverbs chapter. Bro, that's a bar. That's a bar. Bro, the man said read Proverbs chapter 5. End of the discussion. We're moving on. All right.
Yeah.
What's one thing married men need to hear about purity? Married men.
Married men need to hear that you have people coming after you.
Ooh. Okay. All right. Most unexpected lesson you learned while writing this book?
That I am a flawed, broken human being, and I need a savior.
Jeez, come on. All right. What's one prayer every struggling man should pray? And it doesn't have to be the language, but what should a struggling man that's watching be praying?
And I'm gonna say that all men struggle with something, right? So the greatest prayer that I pray, and I pray it every day, God, watch the language. Lord, I do not know what I'm doing. I don't know how to be a man. I don't know how to be a father. I do not know what I'm doing. I need you. You're the only person that ever experienced this moment. I've never experienced it before.
I love that, bro. That to me, brothers need to know that's one of the biggest flexes that a man can make. And to me, it's right in the same neighborhood as vulnerability and so forth, but it's just an admission that, bro, that you don't know what you're doing. And we've been taught that we got to act like we know when we don't know. All right, last question. This is a wild card question. Is a bonus one. All right, what's one, and you can take as long as you want on this. What's one unpopular opinion you have about relationships, sex, or purity?
Well, I kind of alluded to it before. My unpopular opinion is that purity is possible.
Break that down, bro.
So the purity movement back in, I'm sure you remember, it was like real heavy, right?
Heavy.
In the 90s, 2000s, it was
like purity bracelets, rings, you name it, name it, bro.
It was everywhere. It was everywhere, and it created this idea that there is something that I can do that would cause me to be impure, when actually it occurs in here. I'm born impure. There's only one pure person.
Come on, James.
There's only one pure person, man. And so when I call it the Purity Playbook, not in a sense of I am attaining purity, because there's none of us can be pure. But what I'm saying is that the effort into achieving or to moving forward a goal of perfection, it's a goal that we will never hit, but we have the responsibility to strive for. We have responsibility to present ourselves as a living sacrifice. This is something that we got to do regularly, right? Daily. So it's a daily, picking up my cross is a daily thing. And so that the idea that I can, something that I did in my past is now, because when I was a youth pastor when this came out, right? And it was really, really heavy during that time. And I was telling my kids during that time, I was like, listen, I want you to do the best you can to honor God with your life. I want you to know who you are in Jesus. I want you to know that as a fact, right? I want you to know that he loves you, but listen to me and hear me clearly. There is nothing that you can do and nothing that you have done that will make him love you any more or any less. That's not a thing. And what happens is, because you are impure in your heart, you can create this false sense of pride that I made it X amount of years, or I managed to make it all the way to my wedding day and I did not sleep with anybody. But you lusted after 59 people a day. You know what I'm saying? Like you ain't pure.
That's right.
Pure, man.
That's right.
You ain't pure. Only one existed that was pure. And I love the way that he addressed the woman who was caught in adultery. I don't understand how one person was caught in adultery by herself.
Yeah, but anyway, it's a challenging thought, isn't it?
Yeah, he brought her, and they brought her to him, and he said, "He who without sin cast the first stone." And I love what it says after that. It says that they dropped their rocks older to the younger.
The younger. That's right. That's right.
They dropped their rocks because the older knows I didn't messed up. Like those, I can kind of go through my life, and I can remember there's so many times I got it wrong.
Yeah.
There's so many times I got it wrong. And with the younger people, it's so easy for you to get this idea because you ain't lived long enough yet.
Yeah.
Like life ain't happened to you yet. And you gonna it's so easy to say, oh, well, I'm gonna do this, and I'm this is my goal. And you have this perfection goal. And I watched so many of them struggle with condemnation so heavy.
Yes, that's right.
Because they was holding hands or they kissed somebody. I said, man, hold on. Back up. Wait a second.
Come on, bro.
Yes.
James,
God
you real
does not
churchy.
hate
I can
you.
tell you real churchy, but they didn't have to hold the hands piece, man. They ready. They got to repent.
Like,
they got to repent.
I was a youth pastor in a country town in the deep in Mississippi. And this was some of the things that they were saying. It was like, oh, well, what about if I hold hands? Or what about if I kiss somebody on the cheek? I'm like, man, calm down.
Yeah.
Get down a notch. What if I fall in sexual sin? Or what if I do? God don't hate you.
Yeah.
But repent and keep it moving.
And keep it moving.
The greatest tactic, one of the greatest tactics the enemy uses is condemnation. He tries to bring your past into your present.
Absolutely.
And every moment, every second, every minute, every hour is a new opportunity for new mercy. And so just come on, man. All right, so you messed up. Let's get back in the game, get back in the fight. Let's go back to it. Let's get back to it.
Yeah, I used to love that. Yeah. He's not mad at you. He's madly in love with you, man.
Yeah.
Woo! Brother, listen, man, you survived. Clap it up for my man.
Oh,
and I ahead of time, and I gave him the questions I wanted to give him. But man, listen, I want to thank you so much, brother, for stopping by, man, even at short notice, man, and really sharing your story, man, sharing the importance of understanding the truth about purity, which is why he has written a book. Brothers and sisters, go and grab this book. And the name of the book is the Purity Playbook, and the book can be purchased off of Amazon. Would you tell them a little bit about where we can find you, where they can follow you, so they can stay in touch with you and your ministry? So
the book is available on Amazon, exclusively on Amazon right now for pre-order. Right, the book comes out on March 18th. That's the launch date. So get in there right now. Get your pre-orders taken care of. The easiest way to get me is my wife and I started an evangelism ministry called Fire 1229. And you can go to fire1229.com. 1229 stands for Hebrews 1229. I am a consuming fire. He is a consuming fire. And so our goal is to set the world on fire for the King. So fire1229.com is all of our socials there, YouTube channel, Fire 1229 Ministries. You can go there. You can find me. I do a Bible study on there as well. And we just keep it real, dog. We just keep it real. One of the tools in the book that I talk about, and I'm gonna say this, I'm gonna shut up. One of the tools I talk about is the importance of environment. The environment matters. And so you have to be diligent to protect your environment, because your environment is what feeds your heart. And so the reason why we have shows like yours, the reason why you got things that are coming up, like the conference coming up soon, or the Winning Circle conference, those things help with an environment that can foster growth, that can shape and reshape the roots properly so you can produce good fruit. And so in the book, I talk about a story in a counseling session. The guy told me, he said that he was doing everything he could to be faithful to his wife. He had made some mistakes and he wasn't going down that path, but because he had a history of doing that, people were pulling on, some women were still shooting their shot. And so he tells me this story of this time where he's at work. A lady says, let me give you a ride for lunch. He knew it was a bad idea. He knew she was attracted to him. He knew it was a problem, and he got in the car anyway. Many of us have gotten in the car anyway.
Yeah, brother.
So then on the way, the conversation gets rough. It gets to a point where it shouldn't be. And he gets in, she pulls over into a parking space, into a secluded area, and she was about that action. So she was trying to get to it. And so she climbs in the back seat, and this brother gets up. This is the importance of environment. Watch this. He remembers saying, "Okay, God, I tried. I'm sorry." And he's climbing in the back seat. This is a true story. He's climbing in the back seat, and his foot, she had some R&B playing, probably some Brian McKnight or whatever, Chris Brown, whatever. So he was getting in the back seat and his foot hits the radio. And on the radio is loud. The man says, "Fornication is a sin." bruh. He said it freaked him out. He told her, "Take me back to the job." He didn't even want lunch no more. He said, "Take me back." He got back in the seat. Said, "Take me back. I'm done." Right?
Oh,
environment matters, bro.
Environment matters,
man. Bro, it's real hard to do something. So next time you're in the car, man, make sure you set in the atmosphere. Make sure you set the atmosphere,
bro. Oh, man.
Stop playing things that put you in that mindset. Go, you meet with somebody, shoot. It's real hard to be romantic with Donnie McClurkin on.
Nah, we fall out. We begin to get up. Stand. Yeah, man.
It's real hard. Put Tasha Cobbs on. Talking about you finna go have a rendezvous. Not happening.
Yo, man. Man. We show love to James Jackson, man, who's our guest today. Brother came in here, locked and loaded, man, and dropped some amazing stuff on us. Follow his ministry. Go to Fire, FIRE 1229.com. You can learn more about his ministry, he and his wife's ministry. Find all of his socials there. James, thanks for coming up, bro. You are officially a part of the Winning Circle, brother. I don't know what you're doing, man. I would love for you to come to the conference, man. And you need to have a booth set up with your books there. I'm not sure if you're out of town or whatever. We'll talk more about it, man. But this brother's a kindred spirit, man. Thank you so much, man, for your presence here today. Listen, y'all, this has been amazing, man. What a conversation. And the brother gets it. He talks about setting the atmosphere, right? And one of the things we've taught the men in our community, that men are thermostats, bro. We set the atmosphere, man. When God created Adam, bro, it was Adam and the presence of God, and Eve showed up in that environment, bro. That's our responsibility to set the atmosphere. And so, man, thank you so much, man, for such a great interview, great podcast. We're going to shift gears now as we get ready to bring this down to the end. Ask the host. So I got several questions that have come to me, and I'm going to answer these questions as best as I can. Marcus from Houston says, "I'm already locked in for the conference." He says, "But for someone attending for the first time, what's the one thing you think will surprise them the most about the conference?" I'm going to tell you already. The thing that's going to surprise you the most about attending the Men's Winning Circle Conference, it's not going to be the speakers. The speakers are amazing. Jamal Bryant's going to be with us. Eric Thomas is going to be with us. Jeremy Anderson is going to be with us. Anthony O'Neill is going to be with us. Willie Moore Jr. is going to be with us. We've got David Shands. We've got a number of just great speakers. The thing that's going to surprise you the most is just how real and how transparent brothers are off rip. That's what's going to be social. You're going to be like, man, these guys didn't warm up. What's up with that? It's just the environment, man. It's the environment. It's the environment of the Winning Circle. And so that's you're going to be shocked at just how real it is from the very beginning. Jamal from Chicago. He says, "We hear a lot about conferences being hype, but not life-changing. What makes the Winning Circle different from every other men's event out there?" And very similar answer. I really believe like you could tell what Satan is afraid of by what he tries to keep you from doing. And one of the things I noticed that Satan tries to keep from happening is from men coming together, being vulnerable and honest in the presence of God. I'm just telling you, that is a combustible combination. When brothers come together, seeking God, but they're real and honest, bro, this is what separates this. This is not just information gathering, good speakers, guys not talking. You're going to experience community when you get here. And I'm telling you, man, you probably will have never experienced it like that at a men's conference. And then we got a sister. What's up, brothers? Lisa here from Atlanta says, "I know this is a conference for men, but as a woman who wants to support the men in my life, what's the best way to encourage them to attend?" The best way to encourage them to attend is to buy a ticket for them. I'm telling you, buy them a ticket and send it to them and say, "Listen, I just want to gift this to you. Book the hotel, book the flight. And if you're in where are you from? You're in Atlanta, buy them a ticket, sweetheart. Buy them a ticket and just get them here." Some brothers need that push. I will tell you, the majority of so many of the men, I wouldn't say the majority, but a lot of the men that come to our conference come because their women push them. Some of these brothers need a push from their women, and you might be able to just do that. And last but not least, we got Jason from Philly. He said, what's one story of a guy who came to the conference and walked away a changed man? I need to know how this real transformation is. True story. Just last year at the conference, we're in the hotel. The conference is happening. There's a guy there. His name is Avion. Avion is there. He just got married to his wife, and they are there in the hotel on their honeymoon. The brother sees and experiences a lot of the brothers walking around with the T-shirts on. Here's brothers talking about the conference. These guys huddled up, laughing, enjoying themselves. And he knows there's a conference going on. So he asked one of the brothers, no, what's going on? He said, there's a men's conference going on. He said, for real? He was like, do you mind if I come in? This brother had no intentions. He was not even there for the conference. Came into the conference. We let him come in, right? Brother came into the conference, and bro, life was totally changed. Dude was at the altar. We're all praying for him. He ended up joining our Winning Circle community and is in our Winning Circle community right now. Mind blowing, bro. This is the type of stuff that happens at our conferences. Anyway, listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Just another reminder that you can sign up for our free Men's Breakthrough webinar. It's happening this Wednesday. Go to the website and register for this. Make sure you put www first. Go to www.menswinningscircle.com/breakthrough. This webinar is for any brother that has any unwanted behaviors, self-sabotaging, limited behaviors, limited thinking, maybe publicly successful, probably privately struggling. If you can relate to that at all, I feel you, brother. I've been there. Let me give you the 3 principles and 3 strategies that can help you get out of that stuck position, right? And get some alignment going with who you are publicly and privately. As a matter of fact, I want your private life to inform your public life. So join me this coming Wednesday, but you have to register. It's totally free. Go to www.menswinningscircle.com/breakthrough. All right, man, we're going to end this with a quick commercial about our conference, and then we're going to love on y'all before we roll out of
It's
here.
one of the best investments I ever made.
If you weren't here, then you need to get here next year.
Yo, my man, Dr. Myron Edmonds here. And ain't it crazy how they told us if we got more money, if we got more if we got more power, that our lives are gonna be all worked out. But the truth of the matter is, a lot of y'all out there, like me, you hurting for real, because all those things have left you empty for real. And because there's so many of us out here who are all by ourselves, trying to handle all the pressure of what it means to be a man, I decided to put together the Men's Winning Circle Conference. I call in the heavy hitters. Come on, we ain't playing in here. Reverend Dr. Jamal Harrison Bryant is going to be with us.
I can't imagine where God would have taken me if I had sexual discipline.
Oh, and then there's my man, Jeremy Anderson.
So I went through that 9 months and was able to keep my eyes pure, was able to keep my search engine pure, was able to keep my intentions pure because I stayed at the cross. And it was the hardest season of my life.
Anthony O'Neill.
Our vision for our life and the vision for our money should be congruent. It should be working hand in hand. I can't say I want to get out of debt, but then my budget doesn't say that. I can't say that I'm budgeting to get out of debt, but I'm saying over here my vision is I want to go out on dates, more importantly.
Oh yeah, and then there's me, Dr. Myron Edmonds.
The enemy wants you to be as self-destructive as possible. Watch this. He wants you to do things that go so against your assignment that he literally grinds you down.
I'm your host. I'm going to be speaking and pouring into your life. And not just me. I forgot to mention there's about 7 other brothers that are coming to pour into you to help you to start winning in what matters. Yo, my man, you need this. You don't just need this, your family needs this. Not only does your family need this, your community needs this. We waiting on you, bro. It's your time. It's your season. It's time right now. And check this out. I need you to make a choice to move now. Spaces are limited. Register today and be counted in the number of men that are going to get healed and will get healed right now and win in what matters.
Yeah, we in there. Let's go. Let's go. I'm fired up already, man. I can't wait, man. We're days now. We're days now. So today is the last day to register for general registration. Late registration starts tomorrow. Because you were on this podcast today and you stayed to the end, Here's a coupon code that you can use when you go to our website, www.winningscircleconference.com. The coupon code to get $100 off is WCCONF25, and that will get you some money off. Look at my dog, man. He trying to get in. He trying to get in the camera, bro. www.winningscircleconference.com, and the coupon code is WCCONF25. Get $100 off your registration. Do it today. The price is gonna go up tomorrow, and this coupon code will not exist anymore. All right, man. Much love to y'all. Hopefully we'll have Jay back next week. That brother's on the road. But Jay, we love you, man. And we think your man-laws suck, by the way. My man-laws are much better than yours. Hey, much love to y'all, man. Y'all have an amazing day. We out of here.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Get Your Shift Together Men's Podcast. For more information, please visit our website, menswinningscircle.com. That is, menswinningscircle.com. Let's win in the things that matter.